In this video, we're going to look a little bit at the tools that we have available to get data, like analytics data on the web for websites and also for social media. So web analytics, so here's definition of that from the Chaffee textbook on digital marketing. It's the techniques that we use to improve the contribution of e-marketing to a business. So it has to do with getting hold of traffic volume, referrals, clickstream data, online reach data, and also customer satisfaction surveys. So it has to do with measuring the usability of our digital assets. And as Bob Napier famously said in the 60s, we cannot manage what we cannot measure. So we got to look at, okay, so what do we need to measure? What is it possible to measure? What do we need to pay attention to? And what can we potentially safely ignore? So let's dig into this. When we build our websites, it's important that we design it for not just for people and for usability, but also for Google's bots, as I also explained in the previous video. And we need to think strategically about where we place different types of content on our website, so that it is possible to analyze how useful that content is. So we need to break up huge pages into different parts and group those different parts together in ways that are meaningful, so that we know why people would visit one particular page or sub-page for that matter, so that it's clear what that page is supposed to be about and what it does, so that we know the reason for why people will visit that. So that we can measure different points in the consumer's journey. So if you have, if your website's set up for commerce, so that you can measure those different points of the journey from when you put your item in the basket. So you measure, you can measure then to what extent people will abandon the cart, and then try to fiddle with the settings on the website to decrease the likelihood of that from happening, to go through the whole buying cycle and so forth. So that's some of the important things that we need to think about when we build our websites. And one popular way that one popular type of testing and improving the content on the website and how we structure things together is to do an A/B test, which basically means that you're building two similar versions of the website, and then you will randomly distribute one or the other. So when people visit your site, they will get to one or the other version of that website, and then you can make small differences and small tweaks. So in this example on my slide here, we see that the only difference is the color of the learn more button. So in this case, what you're looking for is you want people to click on that, and then you sort of use different colors, or have this little arrow that says click here. And in this fictional example, it's the little green button with the little arrow that makes have a higher click rate in that sense. And so you can play around with these A/B tests, getting the data from each version and then see which one works best. So some of the things that we can test, examples of that here. So as I had on the other slide, the call to action, the headline and the description of products, the length of a form, or the type of fields, for example, or the layout and the style of the website, use of colors and so forth, how product and pricing information or promotional offers is displayed on the site, images, and the amount of text, how much text you have, and other things There's a link here. You can read more about it on the slide as well. Now, a great way to look at how your website is performing is to sign up for the Google Search Console. There's a link on the slide here where you can see how that's done. It's relatively straightforward and easy to get started if you have a website. So these are some of the things that you may want to look at in your assignment, for example. And it sort of goes through the step-by-step sort of things of how Google works, basically, and then help you to improve in Google searches. So it goes through those steps that's on the slide here. So if you're going to do this, you need to have, or if you're doing this for a small business, you need to have their agreement to do so you can verify the ownership of the page, and then start playing around with how the page is performing. And the Google Search Console gives you a fair bit of useful data. So it tells you stuff about where people are coming from when they visit your site, if it's from a link referral or if it comes from a Google search and so forth, and also it breaks that down based on each sub page of your website. And when you get started, it will sort of take you through these steps to help you improve the performance of your website in Google searches. So if you're working for a small business and they haven't done this, then this is a great way for you to get started and to do a simple implementation that will potentially increase the traffic to their website or the performance of their website on Google searches. Now, if you want more than what you can get from the Search Console, which basically just talks about or looks at how you can monitor how maintain the presence in Google searches. If you want more insights about behavior of consumers on your website, then you may want to get into Google Analytics. So basically you then put a page tag, Google page tags added onto each page of your website. That sounds complicated. It isn't. There's a link on the website here, and it goes through how it's done. And as I said, it isn't complicated because Google wants you to do this because these are the products they have in order to get more people to use their services, and that's how they make their money. So it should be relatively easy and straightforward. So then you put the Google's creepy crawlers onto your website, and they will then start tracking user information about how long people stay, and also showing you data and demographics from website visitors, such as where they're visiting from, their age and their interests and so forth. So that gives you all those creepy insights that you start wondering why or how Google gets hold of all that data, but no, that's for a different discussion. But it is a very useful tool, and the good thing about it is that it is free to use, just as the Google Search Console as well is free to use. Now, if you're working for a business that uses Meta's products, Facebook and Instagram in particular, then you should also look at the Meta Business Suite. So it's a dashboard that allows you to look at all activities across all the social media that Meta owns. So you can manage your inbox. It will help you to sort of create advertisements and then push those onto the different platforms, and track insights and trends on how your ads are performing, and then also see all these activities holistically, and it gives you access to a range of other tools. So it's a very useful thing to get into. And if you're working with a small business, then using the Meta Business Suite may suffice in itself, because it's based on easy access and monitoring of one account. Now, on the other hand, if you are in ad agency, for example, or you manage multiple accounts, then you may want to start looking at using a social media management tool instead, because that allows you greater oversight over a range of different accounts. And some of the most popular ones are the ones I have on the slide here. Hootsuite has been around for a long time, and that's a very useful and valuable tool. Most of these tools will have like freemium models, so that it's free to start and sign up. But then if you want more useful features, then you have to start paying for it. You can click on the links on the slide and it will take you to each one of these. But they are good tools. They will help you to edit and create content. So it will have sort of step-by-step helpful tools in order to edit videos and images and so forth, and then push those onto the various social media accounts that you may be using, and then as users start engaging and interacting with your advertising material, you'll then be able to monitor and track each one of these accounts. Another good thing with a management tool is that it allows people to collaborate. So as opposed to the Meta Business Suite, which is more based on one business, one owner sort of thing, social media management tools are more robust. So if there's a team of marketers, then they can collaborate more easily on that, and then obviously they provide you with data and insights about what users are actually doing with your or on your pages. Now I want to go back to some earlier sources here, social media matrices, and I think it's still very relevant, because we, like a lot of these, especially Meta, will give you a lot of data, but you need to ask yourself, okay, so what am I going to do with that data? So the engagement food chain here talks about going from whether people just saw something, whether they saved it, whether they rated it and repeated, and then all the way up to purchasing and then recommending, which is at the top of that food chain, and that may be what you're aiming for, to reach the top of that food chain. So and how do we then get people to behave in this way is the questions that you need to ask yourself, and how valuable is it to know that X amount of consumers saw or were exposed to an ad, if none of them actually bought anything, if that was the goal that you were looking for. So just leave you here with some word of advice from Moz, the Beginner's Guide to Social Media, and that goes back to where I started in the other video. Is that what is it that you're actually trying to do? So you got to start with your strategy, not start with what data can I get from these social media management matrices, but actually what is it that I'm after, and then you need to clearly articulate that in your strategy, what behaviors you want people to do. So you get data from these things, and then you got to think about, okay, so what can I do with this data? What are the insights? And if you cannot do anything with the data, then you can safely assume that that's useless. You ignore that. So it needs to go back to your business strategy. What am I trying to achieve? And what do I need to measure in order to achieve that? Not let these greedy social media companies dictate to you what matters and what matters, because you as a marketer, you will know that better than what they will. That's my final word for today.